This has to work. It can't fail. After only moderate sales success with the P5 and the G9, Xpeng are looking at their next car to be much more of a sales success. So that's why they've gone and stuffed absolutely everything they have into this car here, all into a package which costs less than a Tesla Model Y. So will this be a symphony of success for Xpeng? Let's find out. Welcome to the Xpeng G6 and welcome to the Fully Charged Show.
The Fully Charged Show is generating positive energy with its live events all around the world. Next up, it's Fully Charged Live Canada. Click the top right of the screen to get your tickets today.
Now, whenever you read an article about Chinese EVs coming to Europe or wherever, there's always a picture of an Xpeng P7. That's because it's kind of an icon and it's such a fresh and original design. Now with the P5 and the G9, I think they kind of took elements from that but didn't really use it in a big way. But with the G6, they've really gone to town with that P7 kind of aesthetic. Now, of course, it looks fabulous in this bright orange color. It's actually got blue speckles in it, which you can really see in this amazingly sunny day. Of course, they've managed to pack in 31 ADAS units around the car. It's got the LiDAR. It needs that for the city and highway NGP. Now, what they're also focusing on is efficiency. So to be more efficient, you need a slippery body. This had a drag coefficient of 0.238 CD. That's a very slippery car. And it means that it uses only 13.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's a really good number. And we should be focusing a lot more on efficiency numbers on EVs. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the charging, which is round the back here, because this comes with, as standard, the 800 volt charging system. That means super fast charge times. I think it's like something like 10 to 80% in 20 minutes or so. And that comes as standard. And that's what I mean with this car. They've stuffed everything inside. Now, the problem I have with this back end is this tiny little rear window. It's obviously the trend at the moment. The Neo ET5 has the same issue. The Avatar 1.1 again has that same issue. At this point in time, just get rid of it. If we're not gonna have a window, just get rid of it. Anyway, why this car is so important is because it's based on something called the SEPA 2.0 architecture. It basically means gigacasting and structural cells. Why is that important? Well, it means the cost is reduced, it means they're more efficient and they're faster at bringing cars to market. And Xpeng need a bit more efficiency. You think of someone like BYD, obviously on a different scale, but they bring 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 new cars to market every year. Xpeng have brought 1 new car to market every year. And I think that's what's really been holding them back. With these new processes, it should make it cheaper and easier for all of us. I'm going to say it's around about 400 to 450 litres of boot space. It's got the same sort of false floor with lots of gubbins in the bottom. And I've got my ISOFIX seats. Now those seats will fold flat to probably give well over 1,000 litres of boot space. Now this feels most familiar to my G3, not so much the P7 or the G9, but my G3. Now, they've obviously upgraded it. There's much newer kind of materials in here. This is still a pre-production car, so there's some unfinished materials. I heard there's going to be some Napa leather and microfiber cloth in here to kind of bring it up to a higher standard. But overall, in terms of design, this is perfect. It's a nice evolution of what they brought out 3 or 4 years ago. And it's got this really nice kind of 9-inch screen in front of me and then the 15-inch screen here. Now, in terms of seat comfort, you know, it's good. It's not the super most comfortable seat I've ever sat in, but the driving position is good. One downside is that you don't get a glove box. You have this big box down here and a massive space in here to store your things in. So rear legroom is good for a car of this size. Again, its seat is set up for me in the front, and I got plenty of legroom in here. It doesn't suffer from the EV high floor syndrome either. You know, you'd be comfortable in here for a few hours with no problem. Adding to that comfort is a new feature, is a button here, and I can put my seat backwards and forwards, and all of the seats have that functionality. Again, got my cup holders here, which is a really nice feature. The other thing is, it's got this push button to open the door. I seem to be fighting a losing battle against buttons for doors, but but this has it, but it doesn't have the automatic opening. So you've got to press it and then push. Not a great feature, but fair enough. Now I've got speakers in here, I've got speakers up here, got speakers in here, got speakers down here. So there's going to be a much bigger all-around symphony sound in here, which is something that was quite weak on my G3, given that was a car 3 or 4 years old now. Again, not a smorgasbord of technology and features in here, which you don't always need, focusing on the necessities, what's important, and what the buyers want for the price point. Now today we are driving the performance version, and it's been, what, 3-4 years since my G3 was launched, their first model in the range. And with every Xpeng they bring out, you can always feel a significant improvement over the old models. This is even a big improvement over the G9. Now with the older models, I feel they were always a little bit lurchy and you could always feel the weight a little bit. Now this is not exactly a light car, comes between 1,995 kilos to 2,100 kilos, depending on the model you get. But I think the suspension setup is much firmer, and for that, the ride is a much better quality. I'm already feeling it in these city driving situations where you've got to dart in and out of traffic in Guangzhou. We're in sports mode, I think, so it goes like a stabbed rat, but you can put it in slovenly rat mode to make it a bit more genteel and a bit easier to drive. Now this can do 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds for what ultimately is a hot performance family hatchback is pretty impressive. And that's thanks to its 4-wheel drive system in the performance version. There's also a 2-wheel drive version as well. What Xpeng have really been working on in the background over the past few years is their NGP, the XNGP, Navigation Guided Pilot, which is their self-driving system. Now, we got to experience that in the P5 just recently, and that's where Xpeng have really been spending the most amount of time. And it's really starting to come to fruition. So this comes with highway NGP, so it can do the basically hands-off driving on the highway, and it can do the city NGP. So in cities like this, very complicated driving conditions in Guangzhou with bikes and people all over the place, and you know, different driving style to other countries around the world. And so this has both in this car. It's got something like 31 ADAS sensors. And it's amazing how they've packed that kind of performance, that kind of technology, and some engineering know-how all into one car for a really reasonable price. I think if I had to summarize this car, yes, it's a very good all-round, extremely competent car. But the fact is the market has moved on a lot in the past 3 years. And does this really hold muster against things like the Tesla Model Y? Well, only time will tell, and sales numbers will also tell, but this is a damn good punt from Xpeng, and I think they're in with a good chance if they can recapture that market back again.